Initiating System 1. System 1 loaded.
Business fascination with utilitarianism. Utilitarianism is a widely accepted ethical theory applied to business. It teaches that a decision regarding business conduct is proper if it generates the greatest good for the greatest number of persons. Act utilitarianism, one major school of thought in theory. It centers on the action that has been taken, evaluating it along the line of whether the chosen action produces more good than bad consequences. Business executives usually embrace the utilitarian approaches to ethical problems because they think that are compatible with traditional business. Utilitarianism seeks to maximize happiness or the good, while business executives usually aim to maximize profit, return on investment, or share price. Example of this is how the airline industry. They offer economy class, premium economy class, business class, and first class seats. Customers who fly in first or business class pay a much higher rate than those in economy seats. These seats offer more amenities and lower prices than economy seats, resulting the highest good for the greatest number of people. Additionally, the more expensive upper class seats help to ease the financial burden created by making room for economy class seats. Utilitarianism is a philosophy that emphasizes optimum result and its cost-benefit character. Business managers often weigh the pros and cons of alternative economic and managerial actions to solve business problems. Utilitarianism emphasizes on the net utility of the set of outcome resulting from decision being considered. Business managers also understand that their business decisions must be placed in the context of win-lose situation. Utilitarianism is also flexible in response to differing situations, as it can be varied from the short-term or long-term or from financial or non-financial criteria. Managers typically weigh business owner or shareholder goals associated with corporate profitability as more important than other groups such as employees or the community. Justice and fairness. Rawls is considered the most important political philosopher on 20th century. He rejected utilitarianism and argues that it cannot exclude systems such as slavery or racial segregation from consideration. He maintains that slavery is wrong under all situations, regardless of utility calculations, as it does not respect the fundamental rights and liberties of all persons. Rawls' concept of social justice is known as justice as fairness and consists of two principles. The first principle of social justice concerns political institutions. Each person has the same and indefeasible claim to fully adequate scheme of equal basic liberties, which is compatible with the same scheme of liberties for all. He included most of the liberties in the U.S. Bill of Rights, such as freedom of speech and due process of law, and added some liberties from the broader area of human rights like freedom of travel. He recognized the right of private individuals, corporations, or workers to own private property, but omitted the right to own the means of production and the right to inherit wealth. He agreed that basic liberties could be limited, but only for the sake of liberty. The second principle of social justice focuses on fair equality of opportunity and the difference principle. It states that social and economic inequalities must be attached to offices and positions open to all under conditions of fair equality of opportunity, and must be the greatest benefit of the least advantaged member of society. It also recognized that inequalities are caused by factors such as inherited characteristics, social class, personal motivation, and luck. To achieve this, society should eradicate discrimination and provide easy access to education.
Rawls' thought experiment is called original position and is designed to explore how individuals would determine principles of justice from a position of equality and fairness. The experiment asks individuals to imagine themselves in a hypothetical situation where they have no knowledge about their own personal characteristics such as their gender, race, social status, or talents. This hypothetical scenario is often referred to as the veil of ignorance. Behind this veil of ignorance, individuals are tasked with choosing principles of justice that will govern society. The idea is that since individuals do not know their own circumstances, they would be motivated to create principles that are fair and just for all, as they would not want to risk being in an unfavorable position once the veil is lifted. Rawls argues that rational individuals in this original position would choose two principles of justice. One, the principle of equal basic liberties. This principle ensures that each person has the same fundamental rights and liberties that are compatible with everyone else's rights. It includes things like freedom of speech, freedom of conscience, and the right to vote. Number two, the difference principle. This principle focuses on social and economic inequalities. It states that inequalities are only acceptable if they work to the benefit of the least advantaged members of the society. In other words, any inequality should be arranged to improve the position of the least well-off. Overall, Rawls' thought experiment and the principle derived from it aim to establish a just and fair society that protects the rights and improve the well-being of all individuals, particularly those who are most disadvantaged. It is important to note that Rawls' theory of justice is distinct from utilitarianism, as it emphasizes principles of fairness and prioritizes the well-being of the least advantaged, rather than maximizing overall happiness or utility.
An evaluation of Rawls' principles. John Rawls is one of the most prominent contemporary philosophers, best known for his theory of justice as fairness. Rawls argues that justice is the first virtue of social institution, and that a just society is one in which individuals are treated fairly and equal. Rawls' principle of justice hold that all social and economic inequalities should be arranged to benefit the least advantaged members of society. This principle, known as difference principle, means that inequalities are acceptable only if they work to the advantage of the least well-off. One of the strengths of Rawls' theory is its emphasis on fairness and equality. This principle has important implications for public policy and social institutions, as it provides a framework for evaluating the fairness of various policies and practice. Rawls' principle of justice as fairness has had a significant impact on the field of ethics and has stimulated important debates about the nature of justice and the role of social institutions in promoting a just society. While his theory has been subject to criticism, it remains an influential and important framework for thinking about issues of fairness and equality in contemporary society.
Rawls' justice as fairness principle are an example of social justice concept called distributive justice. It involves the availability of goods, the process by which goods are distributed, and the allocation of the goods to society members. People usually turn to the distributive norms of their group to determine if distributive justice has occurred. Common types of distributive norms include equity, where rewards and costs are allocated according to the members' inputs. Equity. Members' outcomes should be based upon their inputs, therefore an individual who has invested a large amount of input, for example time, money, and energy, should receive more from the group than someone who has contributed very little. Members of large group prefer auto-based allocations to reward and cost on equity. Equality. Regardless of their inputs, all groups members should be given an equal share of the reward or cost. Equality support that someone who contributed 20% of the group resources should receive as much as someone who contributes 60%. Power. Those with more authority, status, or control over the group should receive more than those in lower level positions. Need. Those in greatest need should be provided with resources needed to meet those needs. These individuals should be given more resources than those who already possesses them, regardless of their input. Responsibility. Group members who have the most should share their resources with those who have less. John Rawls' theory of justice states that the concern of distributive justice is to compensate persons for misfortune. It is the obligation of society to revise the distribution of goods and evil from the jumble of lotteries that constitutes human life. Some people are blessed with good luck, while others are cursed with bad luck. Rawls argued that distributive justice demands that the lucky should allocate some or all of their gains due to luck to the unlucky.
Rawls' concept of social justice is known as justice as fairness and consists of two principles. The first principle of social justice concerns political institutions. Each person has the same and indefeasible claim to fully adequate scheme of equal basic liberties, which is compatible with the same scheme of liberties for all. He included most of the liberties in the U.S. Bill of Rights, such as freedom of speech and due process of law, and added some liberties from the broader area of human rights like freedom of travel. He recognized the right of private individuals, corporations, or workers to own private property, but omitted the right to own the means of production and the right to inherit wealth. He agreed that basic liberties could be limited, but only for the sake of liberty. The second principle of social justice focuses on fair equality of opportunity and the difference principle. It states that social and economic inequalities must be attached to offices and positions open to all under conditions of fair equality of opportunity and must be the greatest benefit of the least advantaged member of society. It also recognized that inequalities are caused by factors
Capitalist. Laissez-faire capitalist talks about a type of economic system called capitalism, where people and businesses are free to make money for themselves. The government's job is to make sure everyone is playing fair and nobody is taking advantage of others. However, some people think that this system can lead to some people having a lot of money while others have very little. That's why they believe a fair and just society should be one where everyone has a chance to own things and make money, not just a few people who already have a lot.
State socialist distributive justice is a system which the government regulates the production of goods and services. Democratic socialism is a form of government that protects and promotes the economic and social well-being of its citizens. Based on the principle of equal opportunity, equitable wealth distribution, and public responsibility, some economic sectors may be government-owned or controlled. Socialism is an economic and political system in which workers or the government own the facilities and instruments used to produce commodities and services such as farms and factories. This can be accomplished by either decentralized and direct worker ownership or centralized governmental control of the means of production. Example of socialist is Section 1, Article 1. The German Democratic Republic is socialist state of workers and peasants. It is the political organization of the working people of town and country led by working class and its Marxist-Leninist party.
State and citizen responsibility. Taxation and inclusive growth. Taxation is a means by which the state and its citizens fulfill their responsibility to each other. This relationship between taxes and social welfare programs drives the proposition that taxes are essentially socialist. This system requires paying high taxes to help pay for a wide range of state-funded social services, such as free universal healthcare, free education, state pensions, unemployment benefits, more vacation days, and substantial benefits for mother and children.
Inclusive growth. Inclusive growth is economic growth that creates opportunity for all segments of the population and distributes the dividends of increased prosperity fairly across society. Increasing inequality in earnings and wealth is a major concern in many countries. Examples of inclusive growth: paying the real living wage, environmental impact, investing in a skilled and diverse workforce, innovation, internationalization.